Okay, somebody asked me a question about why I created the child support book that I created, which is called 100 Lawful Questions Every Natural Father Should Ask in a Colorable Child Support Court. Well, for me, myself, I've been alienated from my children for over at least 10 years, from their mother, going back and forth into these court venues where, she lied on me, provided misinformation, false information in order to obtain a default judgment, in order to obtain what you call a so-called court order, etc. And in the course of my alienation, I've been able to go into these venues and stand, and they haven't been able to do it with me because of my disposition. But the issue that I was having was that I was not getting the remedy that I needed in terms of exercising my parental rights. So I realized later on that I was impacted emotionally by the devastation of not seeing my children, all the lying and deception that was going on with their mother, going around, lying to my friends and family, having police called on me, having police come to my house, having DIFUS, CPS, all these different organizations coming to my house because of all these lies, and then ultimately lying to my children. It took a very hard emotional toll on me that even though I was able to go into these venues and stand, I wasn't getting a remedy. And I realized that I was emotionally impacted by what was going on. And later on, I was able to deal with myself and said, I don't no longer want to be in an emotional state. And once I said that to myself, everything began to change. I began to get a deeper enlightenment as to why I was not being successful in getting the remedies that I wanted in these venues, why I'm conscious about my status and identity and yet not getting the results that I want. So once I broke the emotional attachment, the emotional conditioning, and all the trauma that I was receiving from it, once I freed myself from that emotional state that many of our, partners, children's mothers learn how to be, they're trained to be narcissists. And then want to call you the narcissist. You already know the routine, but the resume and what they do lets you know their narcissistic behavior. But anyway, it lets you, once you stop that emotional roller coaster and stop allowing yourself to be impacted, what you're going to do just naturally as a father, naturally as a man, we solve problems, we solve challenges, we solve riddles, we solve things. And I was able to sit down and really examine everything from a proper perspective as a natural father and not as a legal father, because there's two separate different things. And I think that people need to be able to discern and distinguish between what their rights are naturally and what their legal rights are, because they're two different things. When you talk legal, you got to understand that you're talking application, okay? Civil rights is application. What's the application? The United States birth certificate. What's the application? The Social Security card. What's the application? The deed. Anything that you sign in that's dealing with any contract between you and what you call a so-called state corporation, understand you're dealing with civil rights, which is solely contractual, which is the expression that's legal. But when you're dealing with things that are lawful, when you're dealing with natural, it doesn't come with application. It doesn't come with a fee. It comes with you exercising your natural rights. And I often tell people, Wells Fargo got legal rights, civil rights. You know what I'm saying? McDonald's got civil rights. And how does a corporation get the same rights as you? Because it's classified as an artificial person. And if you got a United States birth certificate, you're classified as an artificial person underneath the 14th Amendment, of course. And this seemed to be, the conversation permeating. So anyway, this is one of the reasons why, again, I wrote the book to help fathers on their mission to get redress for having their natural parental rights infringed upon, their constitutional rights, their treaty rights, their status, having it all violated in the name of commerce, in the name of legality, and getting people to a point where they can understand that their argument that they're making, that they've been making, morally and emotionally, it is just, which you call equitable rights, but recognizing that the venue that you're in is inappropriate, because it doesn't deal with the status, and not only that, it will not grant you relief. So 100 lawful questions that every natural father should ask in a colorable child support venue is, I think, the book of its time. I think it's going to hold precedent over any other literature because it's going to help fix a solution or solve or bring solution to an issue that's been permeating for the last several decades. So if you're a father and you're tired and you're frustrated, you've been, you so-called old child support, you in so-called arrears, the so-called judge is giving you a hard, difficult time, well, hold that motherfucker liable. Hold them liable. Remember, your rights as a parent cannot be suspended. It cannot be contracted. It cannot be commercialized. It cannot be sold, bought, transferred, hindered, fined. If it ever comes to that point, recognize that you're not dealing with natural rights. You're dealing with civil contractual rights. And just like anything that's civil, like a judge's position and his role is civil. He is a administrative personnel. He ain't even an official. He's an administrator. She's an administrator. They could be what? Suspended. They could be terminated. They could be fined. They could be barred. There could be all these different things. There could be a civil liability or injunction placed on them, which means that they don't hold precedence or have precedence or what you call jurisdiction over your natural parental rights. Okay? So sit down and ask yourself some legitimate question. What contract grade rise to the so-called child support debt? That's the question that you want to ask. And when you ask that question, direct it to the party who's saying that you're obligated to pay them. And I can guarantee you that it is an employee of the state who's enforcing this. And we'll give you some more details on it later, but I can guarantee that. So with that being said, just think about what's going on, direct your questions to the party who's saying that you're obligated, and then ask yourself your question, how did you become liable? Go look up the lawful definition of what owe means. Ask yourself these questions so you begin to think and ultimately begin to counter these so-called infringements or what we call torts that's been going on when it's dealing with your parental rights.